Cari fratelli e sorelle, stiamo cominciando questo tempo.
Dear brothers and sisters, we are beginning this season of Advent, the holy time that the Lord grants us to watch and pray. And it opens with a phrase that can be disturbing: watch, for you do not know on what day your Lord will come. Jesus speaks of his coming and compares it to a thief in the night. And right after we might think, but why does the Lord come like this? Why doesn't he announce the day and hour? And St. Augustine, with his wisdom, responds this way, saying, "You are certainly convinced that the Lord's hour comes like a thief in the night. If the master of the house knew the hour, he would not allow his house to be broken into." And then he immediately says, "But if his hour comes like a thief, who can know when he will come? If you don't know what hour he comes, stay always alert, so that not knowing when he comes, you are always found ready." So not knowing when Jesus comes isn't meant to frighten us, but to keep our hearts awake. Christian vigilance isn't fear, but love that waits. St. Augustine says, "If the master was surprised by the sudden hour, it was because he was a proud master." What does it mean not to be a master? Augustine says with the psalmist, "I am poor and sorrowful." Not poor from owning nothing, but poor because one's heart isn't in things, not feeling self-sufficient, not closed off. The real danger is this: living as masters of life, relying on a life without hope. Jesus speaks of Noah's days when people ate, married, and built. St. Augustine asks, is it wrong to marry, work, or build? No, but those who overvalue such things, who prefer what God doesn't have, will perish. So the problem isn't life, but a life without God, a life that no longer waits for anything. And Augustine responds to this by saying, people of this kind will not be caught off guard by the coming of that hour, because those who live with a free heart, who hope in the Lord, do not fear his arrival, but rather desire it. This is why the Apostle Paul can say, "You are not in darkness, so that day will not surprise you like a thief, for you are all children of light and children of the day." The Christian does not sleep in darkness, but watches in the light. That's why we have this sense of Advent, not as a time of fear, but of joyful expectation. We don't know when, but we know why the Lord comes. He comes to save us, to fulfill his promise, not to leave us alone. So we must not be afraid, but await the Lord with joy. Augustine says, "The Lord's hour surprises only those who live as masters, but does not surprise those who live as children." In this jubilee of hope, there is just one word: watch, but watch with hope. Wait as children, because the Lord comes. He doesn't take away our days, but transforms them and fills them with light. So with this desire of St. Augustine, let us await the Lord, not as masters, but as children. Let us await his salvation, his visit, his mercy.
La sua visita, la sua misericordia. Pace e bene.